Sonal, you mentioned this point that what Trump does could actually benefit India. What's the thinking behind this thought? Is it because of more business will move from China to India? Do you think the tariffs would be stronger against China, less against India? What is the thinking behind it?
Sure. So I think, first of all, everybody loses, right? So I think if you're talking about weaker global demand, then, India will also see a moderation in exports. And this is not about, whether there is tariff put on specific products in India. The bigger question here is if we have weaker world demand and weaker global trade, then there will be an across-the-board impact on export demand with or without tariffs. And I think that's a bigger issue because typically weaker exports also translate into weaker investment. So from a growth perspective, India also will be negatively impacted. But when we compare the impact that India sees vis-a-vis the impact some of the other countries in the world see, we think on a relative basis it's better off. It's more domestic demand driven. It's also dependent on imported oil. So if under Trump there is a bigger focus on more fossil fuel production and oil prices cool down, that can be a positive for India. And we're thinking also more sort of from a medium-term perspective. The 60% tariffs on China can lead to some amount of substitution to our other countries. India could partly benefit from that. And we have been seeing in the last 3 to 4 years the supply chain relocation. And the work we have done shows that India is already one of the big beneficiaries in Asia from the supply chain relocation. In sectors like electronics, but also in semiconductor testing and assembly, autos, capital goods. So some of these sectors, but more broadly, the theme of supply chain relocation should benefit India. The final point I'd like to make is if you look at where India is getting these MNCs from, a lot of this is US companies setting up new factories in India. It's a lot of European companies or developed Asian countries like Japan. So the investment that India is attracting, I think, is a lot more resilient compared to what we are seeing in some other countries, let's say Mexico, where actually it's been a lot more China investment, which could come under scrutiny under Trump 2.0.